Hi, everyone. Today we are going to tackle another SQL and data science interview question. Today we'll solve a question which was asked in LinkedIn interview question. It's called data science skills. So let's start. Given a table of candidates and their skills, you're tasked with finding the candidates best suited for an open data science job. You want to find candidates who are proficient in Python, Tableau, and PostgreSQL. Write a query to list the candidates who possess all of the required skill for the job. Sort the output by candidate ID in ascending order. All right. And the assumption is there are no duplicates in the candidate table. So we can see the table. There are two columns, candidate ID and skills. Here's an example of how the data looks like. And here is an example of output. So we can see that the candidate 123 possesses all these distinct skills, Python, Tableau, and PostgreSQL. On the other hand, 234 doesn't have those skills, but 345 have two of the skills from out of three. So this one will not be considered for the job. We need the candidate who possesses all these three skills. So we are going to write some base cases on how to solve this problem. So let's go into the editor. So first we need candidate who possesses these three skills, Python, Tableau, and SQL. So it has to be three different skills. And lastly, we are going to sort candidate ID by ascending order. Candidate, or we can write ascending order. So let's do it. So we will need the candidate ID. Remember, we need to group by the candidate ID so that we can count the distinct skills. So let me also here add candidate ID. Okay. So let's, now you are going to check the skills over here. Python, SQL. Okay. And we need to now count the distinct skill. So first we need to group by the candidate ID. And now we'll count the distinct skill. So we all mapping after the group by. So let's do it. Distinct skill equal to 3 exactly. And we are going to now sort it by ascending order. Order by, we will sort the candidate ID as. So what we did, we checked for the skills, the individual skills that were asked to find, and we also group it by candidate ID, and we counted the skill. So we need exactly 3 distinct skills. So we filter it here, and then we order it by candidate ID in ascending order. So let's run it. Okay, so we found our desired output. That's great. So let's submit this one. Okay, great. So this one is accepted. All right. So from today onwards, I'm going to change things up a bit for this series. Instead of only solving queries in SQL, I'll also show you how to do the same thing in Python using Pandas. And the reason is pretty simple. This is data science. We don't just work with databases. We also need clean, transform, analyze data in Python. SQL is great for pulling data out, but once you bring it into Pandas, you can really dig deeper, run analysis, build models. and even visualize it. So by doing both side by side, you get to see how the same problem translate across tools. And that's a skill every data scientist needs. For most of my Python project, I actually use Kaggle, mainly because they give you free GPUs and TPUs, which is super handy if you're training heavy models like in image processing. It's way faster, and you don't have to stress about a high-end machine at home. So yeah, going forward in this series, every SQL solution we write will also replicate in Python. That way, we are not just learning SQL, but also building our Pandas workflow for real-world data science tasks. So let's start. So I already created an object for creating the data set over here, and we are going to use the same example over here. So let me first convert it into a data frame, and then we are going to solve the main question. So candidates data frame equal to pd data frame, and this is how we convert an object into a data frame. And we are going to write the object name. Let's print this. Okay, so we turned it into a data frame, and you can see the same exit table we replicated here. So let's do the actual query here. So we are going to replicate the same process we did here. First, we are going to group by candidate ID, and we will bring all these skills into an array. So let's do it. So group by and find all unique skills and put it into an array. So let's say result into candidates ds, and we'll write dot group by, and we want to group by the candidate ID. And next, as we are grouping by the candidate ID, we need to decide what to do with this column. So what we will do that, we'll write skills, skill, and we want to group the unique skills into an array. So unique, and I'll reset the index, and I'll give the new column name equal to skill list. Let's print this out. Okay, so now we grouped the candidate ID, and this gives us a list of all the distinct skills in an array. So we just now have to check each of these IDs or each of these rows, and we have to check our required skill. So let's do that. So result, and we'll write again result, skill list, and we will use the apply method to look through all of these rows. So we are going to look through all of these skills one by one, and we'll check whether our required skill are in the array or not. So skill in X or skill in Python, Tableau, and PostgreSQL. And we'll use the Python all method, which is going to check if all of this condition is true or not, because we need all these three to be matched. So let's print the result. As you can see, it found the candidate ID, which match all of these required skills. And we can make this output exactly same as this one by just adding an extra line of code. So candidate ID. So let's print this one. So yeah, so we replicate this same output over here in Python. So this is how you can solve the same SQL query in Python. And this is great if you want to master query in SQL as well as in Python. So I hope it helps you. So let's see you on the next one.